Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Big Four podcast. My name is Luke Spring, and I am with your usual Brian, Nick, and Andrew. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing
Good. The
Today's game
bees
day.
are back.
They're
Bees
back,
are
back in
yes.
action.
Puck's
exciting.
back. Puck was back last night, but we don't really care about anyone except for the bees. So we'll talk about them. I'm also surprised, by the way, that no one has said, oh, wait, never mind. Because I was just going to say, no one has done the Tony the Tiger, I'm great, but it's they're great, because you're talking about Frosted Flakes, and they're great, but
Yeah, you
whatever.
moron.
I muffed it. Anyway,
Bruins haven't played since the moment of God frickin' damn it. So
yeah, that is true.
The
It's
most
become a long
historical
way.
moment.
Episode
of
12.
The pod.
We've had 26 episodes since the Bruins have played
Wow,
the
that's
sport
a
of
lot.
hockey.
That's a lot of episodes. But we are your number two source for all things sports. If you know, you know. Go follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Big Four _podcast. We have a lot to talk about and cover. We had one on Tuesday again. My bad about that. But
Fire
we
Luke.
move on.
Fire Luke.
Move on.
Fire Luke.
Move
You
on.
said you moved on to start Tuesday's podcast, and you may have mentioned it 30 times since.
Okay, we're moving on. Now.
But
yeah, we have some puck to talk about. We'll talk about some puck. We'll talk about our picks, and those are all, spoiler alert, there's all going to be the divisional round games because those are the most important games coming up. But first, I don't know if you guys know, but James Harden was traded to Brooklyn yesterday.
No way.
What?
No way.
Yeah,
Jesus.
he was.
It's
He
not
was.
like it was all over Bleacher Report 17 times yesterday.
It's actually funny because I looked on
It's
Twitter
ridiculous.
and somehow, some way, the second impeachment of Trump was second on Twitter's trending because James Harden was first.
Congratulations, NBA. You officially win.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah,
No one likes politics anymore.
we discussed this, and some of us, Nick seemed to have neutral feelings about it. Nick, do you want to tell us about how you think this is going to fare?
I think in some way, all four teams in this trade got better in some way. Assuming Kyrie doesn't retire, kill himself, or I don't know what else could happen. Get abducted by aliens, because that's something that would happen to Kyrie.
He'll fall off the face of the earth because it's flat.
He won't get abducted. He'll just join them just for fun. He'll be like,
facts. Assuming Kyrie comes back and plays at some point, you can't say no to Harden, Durant, and Kyrie. Like, they're going to score points. The bench is terrible, but when you have those three superstars, two of them will be on the floor at the same time. These are probably the three best players to ever play together on one team in the same year. But, I don't know if it'll be a good trio. There's a whole other aspect for it to be a trio. But regardless, in the short term, Brooklyn got better because they'll win more, assuming Kyrie comes back. And for the next 10 years, they'll be the worst team in the league, and it'll be awesome to watch.
Next 10 years and 3 years they're going to be the worst team in the league.
Exactly.
No.
After KD's and Kyrie's contract is up,
they'll be pathetic for the next 10 years after.
Yeah.
When this airs, then
They pulled another trade with the Celtics. They basically the same thing.
I think that Indiana got rid of expiring contract Oladipo, so LeVert he'll have some job security, or they'll have some contract security with Oladipo, and they got a second round pick. Like, people no one cares about a second round pick. Houston added a gaggle of players and a gaggle more picks, so Houston's set for life.
But more importantly, they got rid of Harden. That is the number one
that's
thing.
the win.
Harden was going to,
Exactly.
Houston shaved themselves 5 years of rebuilding by getting rid of Harden. He was going to walk in free agency, and instead Houston trades him for 4 first-round picks.
Awful
and
job
4
by
pick
Brooklyn.
swaps.
Four
so
first-round.
bad.
They got 4
So
first-round
bad.
picks for James Harden. They just completely eliminated 4 or 5 years of rebuilding. They huge shortcut. That was a perfect move by Houston. And by the way, I think they could still win with Oladipo, Wall, and Cousins. I mean, whether they do or not it's up to them. But Harden's a cancer. They'll spread the ball more chemistry. I just think the offense will flow better. But you never know with that. But they eliminated the whole rebuilding thing. And then Cleveland just sitting there along for the ride in the caboose, getting 2 solid bench players and only have to give away a second-round pick. So Cleveland, congratulations. You're a silent winner.
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly see that Brooklyn just you gave up that much, and the team chemistry is gonna suck.
Oh, they're going to be so bad.
They're gonna be so bad. They're gonna argue so much about who gets the ball.
Yeah.
It's gonna be ridiculous.
What Kyrie's kind of career has been is 2017, he's mad because he's not the guy because LeBron's the guy. So he winds his way out, pouts his way out, bullies everybody, and gets traded. Then Boston happens. He comes to Boston. He is the guy, but then he gets hurt. Celtics make Game 7 of the conference final. He's really not the guy anymore. 2019, he whines, cries, gets his way out. Goes to Brooklyn, recruits KD, realizes that was a stupid idea because, whoa, you're not the guy, Kyrie. And leaves because he's not the guy and gets all mad, so he doesn't show up. And then they get another guy who's better than him. And now he's not the guy or the other guy. He's just,
he's a third option.
He's a dude.
Yes,
Yeah, he's
There's
exactly.
too much attitude on the team.
He's a mental head. And Cleveland just basically was given Jarrett Allen. Like they're just kinda like,
seriously.
oh sweet, thanks.
Yeah,
Good for Cleveland.
I had a
I think
lot
Brooklyn
of
will be fine if Kyrie
I had
plays, so.
a lot of different thoughts when this trade. First of all, I was just like, yeah, Cleveland won that because they really didn't give up anything. But like, I don't understand why they even got involved at all. But I mean,
Yeah,
it worked out. It worked out for them.
Yeah,
It worked out for them. But it was just so random to see
like
Cleveland.
when they're like they really gave they gave Houston a couple people and then Brooklyn gave them like that's how it worked, like by giving them some terrible bench players. Like that's kind of how it went.
Second of all, I hope as a Celtics fan, Danny Ainge pulls the trigger and trades for Oladipo. I guess that's not really pulling the trigger because Oladipo probably won't be that hard to trade for. It'd probably be this year's pick, Langford, and like I don't know, maybe another pick down the road, if that. With the trade of exception, because I want Oladipo to be on the Celtics, and that has been rumored. So I would love that. Third of all, everyone thinks that they're getting the MVP James Harden. They're not. They're getting chunky McDonald's regular James Harden. Like that's not the same guy who dropped 36 a game and won MVP.
Yeah,
this
they're
is
getting supersized me James Harden.
Yeah, they're getting 500-pound James Harden, not light on his feet, step back James Harden.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
they're getting
and Luke, what you said yesterday about it was really smart about Oladipo coming to the Celtics and how he's dealing with injuries and Kemba too. And I mean, you brought up a great point about how they can now split time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Oh yeah,
Brian.
Brian, Luke, same thing. Doesn't matter. Good job, Brian. I will credit it to you.
Thanks, man.
I apologize, but it's a really smart idea because I mean they're both coming back from injuries, and if they're able to split time and both contribute in their own way,
you would both have them
it's going to be super efficient.
Have them both play like 20, 25 minutes hard rather than 30, 35 at like, a more kind of grinded out pace. I think it would work. I think Scal yesterday is when he kind of brought up, he thought it would be thing Houston would be doing is they don't really have an urgency to win.
No. Why would they?
What's the point? So they can, if they suck enough to get a top, otherwise their pick goes to OKC if they're not top 3 this year. So if they're bad enough to be there, trade Oladipo, maybe get rid of Gordon and Tucker because those guys kind of suck too, and they're just taking up space at this point. Get more draft picks, get more young guys. I think that's better for them. So it makes sense for them, makes sense for the Celtics. They need to use that trade exemption eventually. So perfect. Bingo.
Yeah.
Do it.
Works well.
Right now, right here, I'm starting a pity list because there are 3 different sets of people that I pity right now. And the first one is Steve Nash because he has to somehow deal with the personalities of Kyrie, who hasn't been there in a week and a half, and now James Harden, who is making fun of his own teammates, which leads me into the second one, is the entire organization of the Houston Rockets, who basically got thrown under a bus by James Harden the last month and a half. Seems like more because according to interviews by Boogie and John Wall and Eric Gordon, that
it was bad since day one.
Yeah, the disrespect started way longer, and they didn't deserve any of that. They were just trying to play basketball. And number 3 is Kevin Durant. Dude's just trying to come back and play basketball, and he has a nut job in Kyrie, who he attracted to Brooklyn, and now apparently they're not talking at all.
Yeah,
so you have Kyrie, who you have Kyrie, who you recruited to play there and hopefully win a championship. He hasn't been there in a week and a half. Now you're bringing in a guy who was trying to get traded so bad that he turned to eating 500 pounds of burgers a day. So now he's huge and like doesn't really want to seem like he wants to play or is bad in the locker room. So KD's just trying to go out there and play basketball and win another championship because he hasn't had that in 2 years because he was injured the entirety of last year. So, I mean, I feel bad for him, Steve Nash, and then not really the Rockets anymore because they got rid of Harden, but just the pain they had to go through in those 2 months of just getting ridiculed by someone who didn't want to be there and when they didn't deserve it.
And Katie's playing some great basketball right now.
God, he's so good.
Yeah,
he's so good.
Watching their game, it was on ESPN last night. He doesn't miss, and he takes his shot, and as soon as it goes, I'm like, this is going in, and it doesn't even touch the rim. It's like so pure. He's
impossible to guard. His shot is just so majestic to watch.
Oh my God,
he's so fun to. Yeah, he's fun to watch. I love watching him. It just comes so easy to him. I mean, when you have a 7-foot shooting guard, that's basically what he is. I mean, where can you go wrong?
Brooklyn, I think is going to end up making probably the conference finals, and here's why. I think that, and I told Brian this today earlier. I think Brooklyn knows Kyrie's coming back. There had to have been something that Kyrie is something behind the scenes, or else Brooklyn wouldn't have made this trade. They wouldn't have traded their whole future for a guy to replace Kyrie Irving if they have no idea if Kyrie's coming back or not. Like, they wouldn't do that because they all they did was just replace Kyrie Irving with James Harden if Kyrie's not coming back, and they trade away their entire future. So Kyrie has to be coming back, or else why would you make that trade? It doesn't take a genius to know that you don't trade your whole future just for a guy to replace some. Like, James Harden and Kevin Durant, with the roster they have now, those two guys cannot win because they can't be on the floor 24/7. If Kyrie is there, that can work until someone's contract expires because they can have at least two of those guys on the floor at the same time and kind of rotate them in. So that can work. This trade wouldn't have worked if they have no inside information that that Kyrie is coming back. If Kyrie comes back, then this trade makes sense. If Kyrie doesn't come back, what the hell are you doing? If Kyrie doesn't come back, then you say, you know what? Screw you, Kyrie. We're gonna keep our bench because we have a good bench. They had a good bench. LeVert, Dinwiddie's hurt, but it's Dinwiddie. You keep KD and you sort of build around KD. You don't trade away your entire future for a guy to replace Kyrie because you've gotten worse. You've given away way too much than James Harden's worth.
You would think they've learned their lesson considering they traded away all their picks. Celtics got Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and James Young. Yes, James Young sucked, but Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum could have been
young duo in the league.
It's on the Brooklyn Nets. Instead, they're like, let's get 37,000-year-old Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce. It's a
loco move. It's crazy if they have no idea what Kyrie's doing, if he's not going to come back. Like, what they gave away for James Harden is not what James Harden is worth whatsoever. It is,
if I'm a Brooklyn fan,
what James Harden is worth, plus the fact that you have 3 superstars on your team. It's those two combined. The fact that they have 3 superstars, plus they got James Harden, that's why that trade would be worth it for this season. I don't even think they're going to make the finals, but that's why this trade is going to be worth it. If Kyrie doesn't play, like, why? Why would you give up that much for James Harden? If you have no idea where your max contract point guard is, why would you give away that for James Harden?
He's
to make a trio that doesn't exist.
The organization, and he's off the grid, and they don't know where he is. So
let me tell you what. If Kyrie doesn't come back, whoever the hell is the Brooklyn Nets GM better sure darn hope that James Harden averages 45 a game and Kevin Durant. That's a combination of Durant and Garnett. Kevin Durant can match that. They can average 90 points between the two of them.
Still lose because they don't have a bench.
You also need like
40 minutes a game.
You also need like 15 a game from Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, and God forbid, and then some D-League player.
He played well. He played well in the bubble.
And some G-League player can get you
in the bubble.
And then hopefully get some G-League player to average you like 2 points a game.
I love Joe Harris too. I love when they posted the Brooklyn Nets lineup: Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, who has his moments, and that their 5th man, Jeff Green. Why did they put Jeff Green on that picture? I was like,
why not DeAndre Jordan?
Why not DeAndre Jordan? Yeah,
because he's like bad. But yeah, I don't know why they put their 5 as
bad.
He's bad. But Jeff Green is also bad. He's also like 105. So
another overpaid guy on the roster.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, Kyrie Irving will be done in the NBA after his contract with Brooklyn. And soon. So soon. So here's what I'm thinking. It's going to be soon, but if he ends up lasting until his contract expires in Brooklyn, nobody's going to want to sign him. nobody's going to want him.
No
It's
one's
not
gonna
worth
want
it.
him.
It's
Which
not
is
worth
why
it.
I'm surprised.
Unless you're
Which
paying
is
him
why
$150.
The only team who would be the Knicks. They would do it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Well, the
Knicks
Knicks
would
will
do it.
take anyone. Knicks will take anyone talented because James Dolan's an idiot and he just wants fans in the seats. He doesn't care how well the team's going to do. But that's why I was surprised that anyone was even interested in Harden because of all his shenanigans in Houston, just
Not
making
give up
fun
that
of
much for
all the
Harden, too.
Raptors. What?
They even give up that much for Harden too.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Nevertheless, I mean, they give up
But
too
like, I'm
much.
surprised that anyone even wanted him because of like all the reports of him and all of his press conference and stuff. Speaking of reports, I also just saw this on Nesson. This was written 12 hours ago. The title is Kyrie Irving reportedly willing to sit out the rest of the season.
Nice. Sounds good.
He's not going to play. I think he's
Who-
going to
who's
retire
Brooklyn-
or
Okay.
he's going to get suspended by like someone.
Yeah.
I don't know who.
And
but,
even
like,
if he wants to come back, he's going to spend
he's gonna go
3
through some
weeks in
insane
quarantine.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Sean
so
Marks.
stupid.
Sean Marks. That's a jamoke behind the scenes in Brooklyn. That decided
Yep.
to pull off this.
Who
this
was he?
hell of a
Is he
move.
the same guy from 2013 or is it a
I
different
don't
guy?
know. I don't know.
Luke,
But this
do you
guy's
know?
the joke.
Sean
Kyrie
Marks,
is willing,
he's been there for a while, so it could be.
you know what? This
I'm
guy
gonna-
should just
I'm
trade
gonna
away
look that
Kyrie.
up.
This guy's trade away Kyrie. Get everything. Get half of what he got back and trade
Oh
away
no,
Kyrie.
that was Billy King. It was Billy King.
Okay, because I was like,
If
if
I'm
it's the
Sean-
same
if
guy
he
who
did
this
the same
again,
thing-
oh my god.
Oh my
If
God.
I'm Sean Marks, I'm like, you know what? Just give me like a second rounder and your best G League center for Kyrie Irving. Like that, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's get something out of the guy rather than nothing. Right? Because if Kyrie doesn't play this season, Sean Marks is going to get fired and he's going to get exiled from basketball. He's going to have to move the farthest point away
It's
from
not his
Brooklyn, New
fault,
York as
though.
possible. He made the move.
Is it his fault that Kyrie Irving is on crack?
Signed him.
Okay, but
He wasn't this.
but
Like, he was bad
we've
in
seen
Boston,
some
but he
bad
wasn't
stuff
this
from
bad.
Kyrie.
Yeah,
This
Kyrie
is
never did this in
astronomically
Boston.
Here's the
terrible.
move. Here's why this
Kyrie
move
never
is-
took days off to reset his mind because of all the inner
Okay.
demons. Like,
Here's why this
I know.
move. Here's why this move falls on Marks. Everything falls on the GM. Everything falls on the guy that makes trade. That's how the world works. Everyone likes to blame one person. So Brooklyn's going to be coming for this guy's head, whether it's his fault or not. And B, if why would you you don't make that trade if you have no idea where your the whole other asset that you need to win the championship.
Yeah.
You just stick with.
You
what
need
have.
Kyrie
He
there
made
to
that trade.
make that
If-
decision.
I think he knew. I think he heard from Kyrie that we don't know about because that's why he made the trade. Because I think he's a GM in the National Basketball League. He has to have some kind of brain. I think he knew that, and he made the trade because he knew that. He heard from Kyrie. Kyrie gave him the go. He's coming back at some point in the season, so he made the trade so he can have the 3 for the playoffs. But if he didn't know that, that's just a nonsensical decision because now you have no idea where your guy is, and now it's all dependent
you
on if
don't know
Kyrie
where
comes
his guy
back.
is. He's off the grid. Nobody's heard from him in 2 weeks.
I
It was
think
an
that this
it
trade
was
works.
an impulsive decision because he's afraid Harden's going to go somewhere else. So it was an impulsive decision that he just wanted to get Harden now. So he overpaid for Harden. Mind you, he has no idea where the whole other asset of his team is. So that goes on Marks. That part goes on Marks.
Yeah,
the
for sure.
impatience. If he has no idea where Kyrie is, then that's an impatient decision, and that goes on Marks.
Yeah. And guess what? Kyrie, he probably doesn't want to play even more now that Harden's in the building.
Yeah.
Why does he want to play? He can't be a number one or a number
Yeah,
two.
that's what I was
He's
saying,
proven
yeah.
that in Cleveland and Boston and now again this year. What is he going to do as number 3?
And
He's
you
going
think
to do the
Harden can't
exact
go
same
one
thing.
Step down.
No.
Yeah,
They have no
exactly.
reason to because they're better
Ridiculous.
than Kyrie. Kevin Durant is the best player, I think, right now. Just his scoring is ridiculous. I think that he's the best player in the league right now. It's obviously debatable, but whatever. Kyrie needs to be the number 3 option, and he won't want to do it. He doesn't want to be any option. He just wants to be on his own. If he had the option to be on a super team or just a rec team by himself and just be the only player on the court,
Drew.
that is what he would pick. He is so selfish. He can't play with anybody, and he's proven that.
Guy's a bum.
He is. He can't play with
If I'm
anybody.
Kyrie Irving, he should retire.
Well,
Stupid
KD
man.
is having
Honestly.
the best statistical season of his career.
He's a
Yes.
beast.
Not in points, but he's the second
He's averaging,
best.
what,
point
29?
And then
Yeah.
29.4. His best is 30.3, 32, and then he's done it 30 twice.
But he's
and
shooting
then
like 60%.
I know. He's super
53.7, that
efficient
matches
this year.
the best of his career. 53.7. That matches 16-17.
People forget, like, just because he missed a year, like, he was the best or the second best player in the league when he was playing. And then he misses it. You're like, oh, KD 10, 11, whatever. He's there.
No, he's
Forget
top.
about this guy, and this guy is insane.
Yeah, KD's top 2, and he's not second.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yes, right now.
Yeah.
It's just so stupid. Kyrie needs to. Somebody needs to go back and check the controls in the back of his head. Screw open the back of his head.
He has to be on something.
I think he's got to be coming back. He's got.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
This trade is drawing
him
him farther and farther away from the organization.
That means NBA GMs are dumber than I think. Because if I'm the GM of the Nets, I'm not giving away my entire future for James Harden if I don't know where Kyrie is. If I don't know where Kyrie is, I'm hanging on to my assets. You know what? That's fine. They can trade Harden somewhere else. He's a free agent soon. We can just sign him if we need to. Like that's what I'll do if I'm Sean Marks.
Or he can look at
goes in trades for Kyrie. So there has to be. It doesn't.
Yeah, but there has.
It doesn't work
so
in my mind because he's a professional GM.
But it could go the other way. Maybe he says, "Okay, I don't know where Kyrie is. We only have KD for a few more years as he's getting old and he's coming off an Achilles injury. So if we don't know where Kyrie is and there's all this speculation that he's gonna retire or whatever, and we're just gonna lose Kyrie, then we have to trade for James Harden to potentially go for it now because we're just gonna have KD on a 4 or 5 seed team." Well, that's what this is what I think he was thinking. If what you're saying is,
then I should be GM of the Nets.
Saying is true that Kyrie is leaving. If Kyrie is just leaving, he's just done for the season, then that's a whole season of Kevin Durant wasted because with that team, they were going to be maybe a 4-3 seed or whatever.
Right.
They weren't going to make the finals. But now he says, okay, if Kyrie's not going to come back, I have to supplement him with something, get James Harden, because you only really have Kevin Durant because it was a 4-year deal, I think. So then you lost a year with his Achilles, so you really only have him for 3 more years. You won't want him just playing by himself with all these other role players while you're waiting for Kyrie doing whatever he's doing. So he says, okay, why not? I just have to James Harden's on the block. I'm going to get him because I have to supplement for someone who's not going to be here half the time and who knows if he's going to leave again if he does come back.
Just imagine if Kevin Durant has to take a day off of rest or something, and they just have James Harden and a bunch of those scrubs. James Harden's going to take 60 shots. He's going to make 19 of them. He's going to make 30 free throws, and he's going to score 60 points.
He's not. He's going to free throws a game. He's a fake scorer. He is.
Okay, Luke, I'm going back to what you said. If that was Sean Marks' mentality in getting Harden, then he should be fired. Because if anyone thinks that the Nets without Kyrie, in my opinion, the Nets were better on Tuesday without Kyrie than they were on Wednesday with James Harden. They were better on Tuesday because they at least had a bench that existed.
They had a bench.
Okay, it's James Harden, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, the starting 5, and then a bunch of G League players. Before, it had Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Taurean Prince.
Who's a good player.
They had all these guys. And they had Durant. They had all these guys who are, I think, combined are better than him. But Harden, Harden's terrible. I mean, well, he's a good player, but he's just
5 guys who are equal him.
Yes, and then you also had your entire future.
And what has Harden ever done in the playoffs? He hasn't proved himself to be a winner.
If Sean Marks thinks that, okay, we need to get James Harden now to win now, and if he thinks getting James Harden and trading away his entire bench and entire future is going to help him win now, he is surely mistaken. That's dumb. That is a I'm going to say dumber. This isn't the correct word, but for lack of a better word, that's a dumber mentality than thinking that that the 3 of them could win a championship with no bench either.
So then if Kyrie does leave and never come, go ahead.
It's a dumber mentality than thinking, let me make this trade without knowing where Kyrie is.
Even if Kyrie's there, they probably still won't win.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
If that was the guy's mentality, then make me the Brooklyn Nets GM because I could do a better job. Same thing with you 3. Same thing with my brother. Same thing with the baby that lives down the street. Like this doesn't take a genius to know that when you give stupid.
Yeah, but if Kyrie leaves and he doesn't come back, or if he comes back and then he leaves again, is just in and out of the team for whatever reason, then Kevin Durant's contract is essentially wasted. They're wasting his contract because they're not going to win a championship in the next 3 years. If they don't,
I think if they trade for Harden, and Kyrie doesn't show up, his contract would still be wasted this year because it's just Harden, Durant, and a bunch of other role players.
It's not as wasted.
Not even role players.
Not
They're
even.
not even role
No,
players.
no, it's not as. They were better, in my opinion. Kyrie's gone. It's Durant and what they had on Tuesday. That team is better than what they have now.
Yeah,
that
but
team
you
was
have a
better
better
on Tuesday
chance.
without Kyrie. That team was better on Tuesday than
They
it
have
is
a better
now.
chance of winning the finals now, though, than
That's-
they did with
no,
just
they-
Kevin.
they were a
just
better
Kevin
team on
Durant,
Tuesday.
Yes.
They were a better
With
team on
just
no.
Kevin Durant. Yes,
No.
100%
Okay,
now.
so they have a better chance of winning a finals if the NBA game was 4-minute quarters. That way, that Durant and Harden can play the whole game.
Well, that's what you do in the playoffs, though. You don't play your bench as much in the
Coming
playoffs.
off a torn Achilles, you play the whole game. That's
You play. I mean, yeah, if that's what
There's
it
health
I mean,
takes.
that's
protocols.
not the smartest decision.
He's not
James
gonna play the whole
Harden's like
game.
five.
He'll
James
play-
Harden's a
honestly-
500-pound bowling ball. You think he can contain himself for 48 minutes?
He's not coming off this injury at this point anymore because he's had more than a year with the pushback.
Well,
the
that's
pushback
how long it takes
of
to
the
fully recover from an
NBA.
Achilles injury.
There were rumors that he would come back in the bubble last year. He was ready then, and then plus another 4-something months beforehand. So he has plenty of rest. He's not going to re-injure it. If anything, he's going to re-injure it because he doesn't lift or stretch because he's a freaking twig.
This is a
but
glorified Clippers team.
in
right
my
now.
opinion,
It
No, the
is.
Clippers
It
are
is.
way
It
better.
is.
Clippers
No,
have
the
so
Clippers
much
are
better.
glorified. That's why I said glorified. The Clippers, their two main centerpieces, play the exact same basketball game. Same thing with the Nets. The exact same
Well,
basketball game. They're
I'm
both.
just saying.
They're both
I'm just
scorers.
saying.
One actually knows how to play defense. One can do it both sides. The other one can't. Opposite. The other one can't. James Harden can't. He can't play defense. But they both score. That's what they do. They're not. Neither one of them are the elite playmakers in the NBA. Same
No.
thing with the Clippers. The only thing about the Clippers have a supporting cast that try and that are good. The Brooklyn
Amazing.
Nets now have a supporting cast that played in the G League last year.
Well,
Amazing quote.
Nick, you should know this best though. In the playoffs,
Why?
you really don't need a supporting cast. The Lakers' supporting cast was kind of buns last year, and they
That's not
won
true.
the
They
finals
had-
easily.
It wasn't
Easily.
buns. The average
wasn't
across
great.
the year. The average across the
Danny
year
Green
for,
was starting.
Danny Green sucks. For
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Lakers and go back and watch the playoff games and you look LeBron and AD, they scored their 30 points a game. The Lakers they didn't have consistency in their supporting cast, but it was always one person there was only usually one or two people that played well. Sometimes it was Markieff and Rondo. Sometimes
Your
it was
supporting
Kuzma and
cast was a
someone
hell
else.
a lot better. Was a hell of a lot better than the Nets. The Nets don't have a
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
the supporting cast was a
And-
lot better than the Nets.
And
their
you have
two
a
starters
and you
were
have a
better than the Nets.
playmaker. You have a playmaker in LeBron that can make other players
They
better.
work. Braun and AD work great together.
Braun
Harden,
works well with everybody. Doesn't matter if
Yeah.
you're a role player or an
But
all-star.
yeah, there you go. Braun, exactly. And with the Lakers supporting cast, by the way, they had like one guy step up every single night, and it always was different. So the
Exactly.
averaged out to not a great supporting cast, but they always had one guy that scored over like 15, 16 points a game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It was just someone different. Sometimes it was Rondo, Morris, Kuz, so it was always someone different. That's
At
different.
least you know the
But
names of the
Brooklyn-
role
Brook-
players on that team.
Brooklyn
I have
six man
no
is
idea.
Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying, no, it's not. It's Shamit. Shamit's
Oh,
decent.
oh,
Wow.
Dinwiddie.
Landry Shamet.
Dinwiddie's
Sound the alarm, folks.
out.
Shamet's coming on the
He's
port.
out for the year with a torn ACL. He's
Yeah,
not
Dinwiddie's
playing
done.
this year.
Oh, is he?
Yes,
No,
he
that
had-
was the whole
tore his
thing.
ACL,
Regardless, the
Just-
NBA is a superstar league. The more superstars you have,
Brooklyn-
the better chance you have of winning the championship.
In my
And this-
opinion, yeah, but the Celtics know better than you too. You guys have a ton
Yeah,
of
they haven't
superstars
won a
in your starting
championship
lineup,
since
but last
2008.
year
That's why.
But they didn't have because they didn't have a bench. They didn't have, wait,
no,
you said
we
2008.
didn't.
What? They haven't won a championship since 2008. They
Yeah,
haven't.
okay, last year, 2 years ago, the whole issue was Boston didn't have a bench. The bench wasn't
No,
great.
it was just they had
That was
young
not the
players,
issue.
and they don't.
Yeah, it's
they
just
didn't
they have young
it
players.
was
It's
Ta-
because they're
It was Tatum's
have a good
emerging.
bench.
Tatum,
Exactly.
Tatum
Okay,
now
well,
could
then
be
I
a
shouldn't have brought
superstar.
Celtics into
You
it.
have to have a
This is-
superstar to win the championship.
Yes, you have to have a superstar to win a
and
championship.
the more,
but
the more, the better. So I
It's
mean,
But you
but
also need
at
role
some point you
players.
need supporting. At some point you need
Exactly.
some kind of supporting cast. You need some sort of life form that can sub you out when you are panting at 46 minutes of basketball play. You need someone to sub you out. All right, when you're like this they got rid of their supporting cast. What I'm trying to say is they got rid of their whole supporting cast. So to supplement that, you need another superstar. So it was Kyrie and KD got rid of the supporting cast. Here comes Harden. Oh wait, Kyrie's nowhere to be found. So now we're back to square one with a terrible supporting cast. It is the Brooklyn Nets, that they were at the start of the year with the worst supporting cast in the NBA instead of Karis LeVert, all the Jared Allen, Taurean Prince, all those other guys. It is not that anymore. It is what they had minus all those players. And it's just not good.
Great
And they now completely got rid of their interior presence. Jared Allen was the only guy that could play defense now.
Interior defense is awful. It's so bad.
They got rid of Jared Allen. Interior defense gone.
Yeah, and also the Lakers at the I'm bringing the Lakers back into this, but the Lakers at the beginning of the year, we all thought that they were the favorites to win the NBA championship. Why? They don't really have that much different of a starting five, but they got Harrell and they got Schroeder. They got better role players.
Well, Schroeder starts, but
but I mean that means that a starter can be on the bench.
I get it.
But now they have a bunch of good players. I mean, it's a solid team. We all thought that they were going to win the championship from week one. Brooklyn's screwed, especially with. That's why, Nick, I think it's really important to have Kyrie because you could do 2-man rotations. If you only have two guys, you're screwed. You're going to put KD or Harden out there by themselves with 4 other players on that team.
Right.
That is so bad. The defense is going to be terrible, especially with Harden out there.
Brooklyn is going – this year, the Brooklyn Nets are going to show the NBA why a supporting cast and a bench is so important. Just like last year, we were seeing teams that had no interior presence, that couldn't rebound the ball, and they're losing. And the reason they're losing is they had no interior presence. Or sometimes with other teams, it was because they had no shooting. It's become a positionless league. The league's evolving and changing, but still every aspect is just as important as it was back then. Just they play different roles, but they're all just as important. And in this case, we're seeing how important the bench is. In a sense, because Luke, you've said it's a superstars league. Well, Brooklyn is about to show you that you need a bench. They're about to show it to you when they go out if they make the playoffs, get swept in the first round. You know why? Because KD and Harden are only playing so many minutes a game, and the bench is coming in and pooping their pants. And Kyrie's nowhere to be found.
The 17-18 Warriors didn't have a bench. They had Durant, Curry, and
Thompson. They had overkill in the starting five. Durant, Clay, Curry. That's the same thing what the Brooklyn's going to do. They had 3 all-stars, 3 superstars. They alternate minutes. They can keep 2 of them on the floor at the same time.
Exactly.
If you have that many superstars on your team, the bench can kind of become a little obsolete because you keep those superstars in. They kind of hold the lineup together. If you have 2 superstars, it ain't going to work.
They had 3 extremely unselfish players.
Exactly.
There you go.
Curry,
obviously,
Thompson,
that
and Durant
makes
can
more
play
sense.
with everybody. Kyrie and Harden? Hell no, they can't even play with each other.
I'm not making the case to wrap it up. I'm not making the case that the Nets will win the championship. That's not what I'm saying.
Playoffs, as long as
they'll make the playoffs. I am saying
they might have made if Kyrie comes back, they might even make the NBA Finals. I need to see how
they're going to make the NBA Finals.
I can't make any crazy predictions because I want to see how these guys play together. But they'll make the NBA Finals if Kyrie comes back. It just
I'm
matters,
not saying that
they're. It just means how long he comes back. Because if he comes back in like 2 months, then they might be screwed to make the finals.
All I'm saying is they have a better chance of winning a championship with the roster that they have right now, rather than them just having Kevin Durant a week ago and no Kyrie.
And Karis LeVert and bench players and Jared Allen and defense.
Yes. They have a better chance now.
I think they're at a better chance.
Harden's proved himself that he cannot win in the playoffs.
Harden can't win the playoffs, and they don't have a bench still. Right now, they have no bench. Then they had a bench. Now they don't have a bench at all.
So are you saying
bench?
Are you saying right?
No bench.
Right
now with no Brian, what do you think? Were they better on Tuesday without Kyrie or today?
They're a better regular season team.
They're a better team in general. They're a better team on Tuesday without Kyrie. That team would kill this Brooklyn team any day of the week if you place them together. The team's on Tuesday without Kyrie versus the team now without Kyrie.
Harden and KD or KD with the bench?
Harden and KD or KD with the bench, a.k.a. Karis LeVert is a very good – Karis LeVert could start in this league, by the way. If Karis LeVert got minutes and if without Kyrie he'd have a big role, I think LeVert has all-star potential.
That's how Brooklyn made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Harris, they all made the playoff because they were all good players, and now you're kind of getting rid of those players. And this conversation went on way too long. To wrap it up, KD went from the Splash Brothers to the Dribble Brothers.
To the Dribble Brothers.
Yes.
Great quote.
The ISO brothers.
Instead of making shots, they're just gonna go dribble, dribble, dribble. Oh,
Pass,
my
dribble, dribble. They're just gonna.
No,
they're
not
just
gonna
gonna have
Like that
a. No,
2K
they're just gonna
meme.
have a. Yes, like that. They're gonna have a
Yeah.
triangle. If they don't have a shot, they're just gonna pass the other guy. He's gonna dribble. If he doesn't have a shot, pass the other guy. He's gonna dribble. He's gonna be forced to take a shot, and he'll probably make it.
Kyrie needs to play in order for his team to win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not going to win, even with.
All right,
Durant
we're
and
done. We're
Harden.
done. We're done.
Football.
We
Too
should've-
long.
football.
Okay.
This is way too
Football.
long, but I was trying to
Football.
make a point. We're going to our stat selections, picks, whatever. We'll start with just go in order because we're doing all four. We'll start with the Saturday game, Packers-Rams. Nicholas.
Green Bay. I'm sorry. I feel bad because I think the Rams are kind of like they're really good defensively. I really respect our defense, but Green Bay is just too good right now.
Yeah. Wait, is it my turn or Brian's turn?
Either one, though.
Okay. I'll go. Yeah, I respect the Rams defensively, but when you have a quarterback with 4 fingers, I just don't think they can beat the high-powered offense of Green Bay.
I value a bye week in the NFL, especially in the playoffs. I think it's incredibly important. If you look at in the past, the 1 and 2 seeds would basically almost every single year be in the conference championship. Now there's only 1 bye team, so they're almost a lock. So yeah, Green Bay.
I'm also going Green Bay. I wish that I knew, because we now know that Goff is playing. I wish I knew that was true before the Seattle game, or else I would have picked the Rams to beat Seattle.
me too.
I would have too.
But I'm going the Packers to beat the Rams. So, actually, I'm going to save this one because this one could be the most interesting. So I'm going to go down to the next game on Sunday, Browns-Chiefs, Nick.
Chiefs. I mean, they're too good. They're too good.
Chiefs are the Chiefs, and they will win. Pretty simple.
The Chiefs are great. They've had some kind of iffy games this year, but in order for Cleveland to win, they need to force like 3+ turnovers, and I don't see how they do that.
And they have
They
to own the time of
every
possession.
offensive drive.
Yeah, if they run the ball well, that's kind of what the Patriots did in the conference championship game. They
Yeah.
I mean, they had an 8-minute drive to start the game, and Michelle
Exactly.
scored. So if Chubb and Hunt are good, and they force like 1 or 2 turnovers, maybe force a fumble. Like, it doesn't have to be Mahomes or a muff punt, something like that. They have a better chance, but they'd have to drop 38 again to win.
Exactly. Mayfield's got to take care
They got to
of
get
the
over
ball.
40.
I don't think they have to put up 40.
Their pass
But
defense is
No.
horrific. They need to get over 40. Mahomes will throw for over 500 yards if they can't stop him.
I'm winning the Chiefs too. I can see this game being. I can see the Browns taking like a 20-point lead in the first half, and then the Chiefs just absolutely dominating in the second half.
last year, 24-0.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even talking about the playoffs last year. Like, all of the Chiefs games this year have been super close, except they just pull away in the fourth quarter and absolutely dominate in the fourth.
Yeah.
So that's just literally how they play. So I think that's a very big possibility that they could be up by a lot, but the Chiefs they're going to end up winning. The battle of the oldies, Bucks Saints. Nicholas.
I think the Saints have a chance. I'm picking the Bucks. I think but it isn't. It's technically an upset, but it's not because Brady doesn't lose. Brady don't lose more than he can't. He's not going to lose to Breeze for a third time in the same season. It's just not going to happen. It's Tom Brady. This is a man of adjustments. It's obvious this is his team. We've been over this plenty of times. Obvious this is now his team. He's taken over. He knows what he's doing, and Saints look really bad against Chicago. They look really bad against Chicago. I can't see them pulling this one out. I got to take the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, you could see this offense. I mean, they totally fit Brady's play style now. They weren't at the beginning of the year. Now they're starting to figure it out. And the biggest thing is that Brady can win playoff games by being Tom Brady. Drew Brees cannot do that anymore by being Drew Brees. So I got the Bucs.
Drew Brees loses playoff games by being Drew Brees.
Exactly.
So yeah, Saints tried to lose to the Bears. They should have. If the Bears weren't the Bears and were a slightly
they weren't
better
the most
team,
undisciplined team.
Even if it was the
I've ever
Cardinals,
seen.
if the Cardinals got in over the Bears, the Cardinals win that game. Even though the Cardinals were bad towards the end of the year, they just have more explosive weapons and a better overall team. So yeah, Bucks by a hefty margin, I think.
I'm going Bucks
keep it
too
close.
because The Saints looked really bad, and the Bears are really bad. I mean, they crushed the Bucks, and they didn't. The first game was close, but the second game wasn't even a contest. But I don't think that really matters. The Bucks played really bad games those two games. And I don't think they're going to lose 3 times in a row to the Saints, who don't really look like they know what they're doing. So
Yeah,
I'm
the
going
Saints
go
need to
Bucks.
win with pressure, and I just don't see them winning.
Now, this one I think is the most interesting game out of them all. Saturday night, 8:15, Ravens Bills. Nick, who do you have in this one?
I'm taking Baltimore, but I just want to point out a few stats. So the Bills have lost 3 times. They've lost to Tennessee, Arizona, and Kansas City. Tennessee has the second best rushing offense in the league. Arizona has the 7th best, but we know how they lost to Arizona. But Arizona has the 7th best rushing offense in the league, and they ran for over 200 yards. And they lost to KC, who was the 16th best rushing offense in the league. KC ran for 245 yards. That's the most they've ever ran for in a game since week 16 of 2012.
There was torrential downpours in the game, so we will just mention that.
There's going to be bad weather this weekend, too. And let me tell you what. They held Mahomes to 225 passing yards, which is a bad day for Mahomes. They still lost because of the rushing game. Baltimore leads the league in rushing by nearly 400 yards. They averaged 300,000 yards they had rushing this year. They've held the league's 4th best offense, Tennessee, to 13 points last weekend. Tennessee had the 2nd best rushing offense. Baltimore held them to 51 rushing yards and less than 170 passing yards. And before we say, they just
3 inches of snow and 25-mile-per-hour winds during the game.
Before we think that it was just a fluke, that Tennessee is, they just caught them on a bad day. I don't think it's coincidence that Baltimore ranks 6th in passing defense and 8th in rushing defense this year. That's a good defense. It's a very good defense. And they forced 25 fumbles, which leads the league by 8. So bottom line, Brian just alluded to it. Bad weather. This is going to be a rushing game. I'm going to take the best rushing offense in the league against the 18th best rushing defense, which is Baltimore. Baltimore has the first best rushing offense in the league. Baltimore. I'm going to take them over Buffalo. I think it's going to be a rushing game because of the weather.
Given the weather, Buffalo sort of plays in this weather, like every year. It's kind of where they live. It's kind of the weather that they are used to. And doesn't matter. And guess what? Guess what matters more than yards, Nick? Points. And Baltimore put up 20 points against the terrible Tennessee defense that you said. 20 points is not going to be enough to stop Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I got the Bills.
Yeah, same for me. I got the Bills. They score, I think, almost not effortlessly, but I think that first playoff game against Indy is exactly what they needed. Kind of a gut check, a closer game than they wanted it to be. And I think they'll be more confident going into this game at home Saturday night. They got fans back in the building. I think the Bills. Yeah, I got the Bills. I think it'll be a good game. And what Lamar New England did terrible in the bad weather. So.
Yeah, I don't know what to do here because both teams I feel like are completely different. They're just complete opposites of each other. Weather is 100% going to be a huge factor. I like Baltimore's defense a lot, and Indy's defense is good too. And I mean, Josh Allen, they didn't really struggle, but they didn't look like their 40 points a game selves. Maybe that was just because they were caught off guard. They haven't really played a good team in a while. The Bills haven't. So
it's also Josh Allen's 2nd playoff game ever.
Yeah, but I don't know if that really mattered because there's not a lot of fans, so it didn't really feel like a playoff game. But they haven't played. They didn't play a lot of good teams at the end of the year. They kind of rolled through their schedule, including playing the Patriots. But I think I'm going to go the Ravens, but I'm being very hesitant on going on the Ravens because their defense is good. Nick pointed it out. It's the top 10 defense. They have their top 10 defense in both rush and pass, which is very good in the NFL. It's just their offense. Their offense scares me. I don't like how they play offense. I mean, I guess it works sometimes, but they cannot pass the ball at all. And you kind of really need to, especially in a league like today where it's basically strictly all pass. So I mean, I don't know. It's going to be close. Their offense scares me, but I'm going to go a hesitant Ravens as my pick.
This is Allen's third playoff game. He played Houston last year in the wild card game.
Yeah. Well, this upcoming game's his third, but
he meant last week was his second.
Last week was his second.
They didn't play a great game because it was his second.
I just want to give my. I'm not making any definitive statements. I'm not predictions about what the game's going. I just Baltimore's going to win because the last thing I want is to get one of those videos that Luke made about Andrew and Brian with the Pats Rams game where they made some very big
bold
predictions. I want to say bold. I would say big predictions that they really stood by and were definitive statements. And Luke made a big video about that. Wasn't big, but we made a video about that. Last thing I want is that kind of video. So I'm not telling you what's going to happen. I just think Baltimore's going to find a way to win. They're going to have to win.
I mean,
if they win, it's going to be they're not going to run them out. They're not going to put up 30 points by running Buffalo out of the building.
Mm-hmm. If the Ravens are going to win, it's going to be 17-14.
It'd have to be like a similar games where they played against Tennessee, which is something I think Baltimore's capable of. I think the weather helps because it would force Buffalo to either run more against Baltimore's good rushing defense, and you keep the ball away from Josh Allen at all times. That always helps, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, those are our picks. Week 22 of the picks, which is a lot of picks. A lot of different things.
Is there an update? We got an update on the
standing
update.
Did we go over
that?
So
did we go over that yesterday or Tuesday?
No, we didn't. No. We haven't gone over them a while, but we've made 71 different picks about things. So I'm at 38, sitting in front at 38.
That's a good percentage.
Oh,
Nick is at 36. Brian is in third at 32, and Andrew is at 31, just behind Brian. And yes, Andrew, I added your. That's including your wins, NFC East wins pick as well, with 7.
Yeah.
I picked 9, which was.
Did I do 8 and 8?
Yeah.
You both, so. Both you and Nick picked 8 wins, but it was 7 by Washington. On to our final thing. This will be quick because we don't really, we talk about it sometimes, but it's not huge. We don't follow it because especially one of our co-hosts doesn't follow it pretty much at all, but that's all right. He's learning.
That's not the reason why.
Oh, I didn't say a reason. I just said you're learning. But puck's back and the Bruins are playing. Right now, as we speak, they're in the second period, up 1-0, with a Brad Marchand goal assisted by Bergeron and Krejci. But yeah, the NHL is back, and I don't really know what to think about it. It's kind of like the NBA. Today was our biggest NBA talk because it was the biggest thing that's happened. You can't really make assumptions on the NBA within the first month or 3 weeks or whatever. So it's going to be tough to talk about the NHL for long right now, but who knows what's going to happen.
It'll be interesting with the whole division and playoff and kind of way it's setting up by playing the same. The 8 teams or 7 teams were playing, 8 teams in the division, 8 times each. So each game is important. I would assume in the Bruins division with ourselves, New Jersey, the New York teams, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Philly, and Washington. I would assume it to be Boston, Philly, the Islanders,
Washington,
and did I say Washington? Washington, Boston, Philly, and the Islanders to be the playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that means Pittsburgh's been bad. They've been for a while now.
The Flyers looked really good though yesterday.
Yeah, so the Flyers were good last. Yeah, the Pittsburgh's bad. So assuming it's Philly, Washington, us, and why I keep blanking, Islanders, who made the conference finals last year.
Yeah.
The rest of the teams, New Jersey's bad. Buffalo's young still, but I think we've said that for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Like, how long have they had Jack Eichel? Feels like forever.
A while now. They got Taylor Hall, and he's good, but
yeah. They're not winning games. So
it's nice to see Tuukka back on the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tuukka's still good.
After just leaving the bubble, but who knows?
I definitely think that Tampa's Tampa's got to be the favorite out of, I guess you could say,
The league.
The league. I mean, I guess you could say like their division and
Yeah, they killed Chicago
Yeah.
last night.
their
division's
division.
easy.
Yes, granted, the Dallas Stars made it to the Stanley Cup last
Dallas
year.
Stars is
They
still the
should
Dallas
not have
Stars.
made it to the Stanley Cup last year.
That's a
They're-
scroll so far down on ESPN to get to the NHL. It's sad.
Yeah, I know. But Tampa just, I mean,
Yeah, like
They gotta
Chicago,
be the favorite.
Nashville's been
Nashville's
great.
been not great.
they've been
yeah.
not great since they went to the finals. Florida's
Yeah.
terrible. Detroit is awful.
Oh, yeah.
Carolina's good but not great.
Carolina's got to be the best team. Other than
Yeah,
they got to be the
and then
second
Columbus.
best.
Columbus is the same thing. They're fine but not great.
Yeah,
Our
and then
division's
Dallas
tough.
is going to be about the same as
Yeah.
Columbus. I
Even
think.
the West is kind of tough. I mean, St. Louis is
Yeah.
good. Vegas is good.
Yeah,
Colorado, I think, is a Stanley Cup
Colorado
favorite.
is yeah.
They should.
they
make
should-
it.
They made the conference finals last year, right?
Yeah. No, they.
Right?
Blew
Wasn't
it?
it Colorado?
it
Dallas?
No, it was
was
Dallas and
Dallas
Vegas.
and Vegas.
Oh, Dallas,
yeah.
Vegas, but they played Dallas in the previous round,
Yes,
right?
yes,
The
yes.
round
Yes, I
before?
believe
Yeah,
so.
okay.
And then the Canada division. I mean, Edmonton is good, but they find ways to lose.
Yeah,
Toronto, I just hope loses just because Toronto can fall off a bridge.
Well, they won
Vancouver
yesterday,
played well
right?
last year. Yeah. Winnipeg's.
Winnipeg's.
Ottawa's bad. They changed their logo and it's really throwing me.
I
off.
know, like, well, I don't. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
it's
it was
really
weird.
Wait, hold on. Let me
I
look
thought
it
it
up.
was. I thought it was for the reverse retros, and then I just saw
Yeah,
it,
it's like they're
and then I was
really
just like, oh, it's
bad.
just their regular jersey.
It's pretty
Uh,
terrible.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm not a fan.
I don't know what to expect. And it's weird. Like I don't know how the playoffs are really working. I know it's the top 4
Oh,
teams in
yeah,
each
that is
division make
weird.
the playoffs, but from there, I don't know how they're doing seeding. Like,
Yeah,
is
I
it
don't know
just
if
going
it's
to go
just
like?
by record or
Is it going to go like 1, 4, 2, 3 in your division, and then you're going to play that round, and it's going to go
yeah.
to the next division winner? So, like, say
Like
Bruins
how it
win the
usually
division,
is?
Is it going to go Bruins against say Washington, and then say they win, and then they play the Islanders in the next round, and then they would finally play like who knows what in the conference finals? I don't even know what round you want to call that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. They could do that. They could go back to just seeding 1 through 8. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Nick,
Just
do you have any
excited for it to be
insight?
back.
Go Pats.
Go Pats. Different. That's not. It's not. We're not at the final
Go
thoughts. but
Ducks. I
we're
don't know.
basically
I know the
there.
Ducks exist.
Ducks. Why don't
Go
you
Ducks.
just say why don't you say
mighty
go
Ducks.
Bruins?
Go
You live in-
Bruins.
You live in
Go
Oh,
Mass.
UCLA
Nice.
Bruins.
Go Bears.
Put it in
Mhm.
the freaking net. We're out shooting them like 30-7. It's 1-0
And
down in the
Brian's
second.
continuing. Brian's just starting commentating, so that's when we know to end the podcast.
Go
It's
Toronto
the
Pioneers.
Final
intermission
thoughts.
now.
Final
The
thoughts.
period's
Final
over.
thoughts. Well, we've been here for a while too. So final thoughts.
Go
Lakers and foe.
Oladipo.
Go Oladipo to the
Yeah,
Celtics.
come on, Danny. Make some moves. We need one move. We got to use that trade exemption this
Exactly.
season.
Yes.
Home Depot. Victor Home Depot.
Victor
Oladipo.
Home. All right, we're just ending it there because
Go Celtics. They play tomorrow. Hopefully they
Yeah,
get 12
I
finally.
know he
points.
said go Pats, but go Pats.
Go Pats. Yeah.
Go Bills.
Go Pats.
Screw the Ravens.
Thank you guys for
Go
listening.
Ravens. Yeah, go boat them all. Go boat them all.
Yeah, go Baltimore. Thank you guys for
Baltimore.
listening. Go follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Big 4_podcast. Yeah, we'll see you on Monday if I remember to press the record button. If not, we'll see you Tuesday, but probably Monday. Thank you guys for listening. Peace.